buckle up, folks. This could take a while because there's a lot to talk about. Ineos Grenadiers 2024. How can we describe that? 14 wins, hardly any at World Tour level. Riders focusing on off-road racing like mountain bike or track rather than focusing on the road. And that's their big stars as well, which doesn't help. So what can we expect for them in 2025? Well, they've lost Jonathan Narvaez to UAE. They've lost Ethan Hayter, which personally I don't think is a major loss because of his track focus, and we'll get on to that later. He lost it on the road. And obviously, the drama, the saga of the winter, well, one of the two sagas of the winters, was Tom Pidcock. Would he leave? Would he stay? And he's left. He's gone to Q36.5. More on that later when I talk about Q36. However, their incomings of note, I mean, they've signed domestiques, they've signed riders that potentially could kick on. Axel Laurence, for example, after that Flanders ride I said about in the Alpecin preview, he'll probably look to races like Brabantse Pale, Amstel Gold to cause a bit of trouble and get into earlier breakaways. Bob Youngles, Lucas Hamilton, 3-4 years ago, I would have said those two are brilliant signings, personally. Sure, they might not win, but a couple of years ago, they would have been brilliant domestiques for Pidcock, for Rodriguez. Now, however, they're not as wow signings. And Sam Watson, I think, could have a decent year at Ineos. So, who are their stars? Carlos Rodriguez and Filippo Ganna. As long as he focuses on the road, which I think he is by the interview he gave last winter, they are the riders that will be expected to pick up the majority of their wins if they win at World Tour level. And my rider to watch is Josh Tarling in the Classics, and hopefully he will re-find that TT form that brought him the European Championships in his Neo-Pro year. Before we get on to predictions, before we get on to hot takes, I want to come back to their transition and rider focuses. The big thing that the Ineos Grenadiers need to do is have their riders focused on the road. I know they've had track programs throughout their time as Sky, but the difference between when it was at Sky and when it was at Ineos, when it was Sky, it wasn't the stars. It wasn't Wiggins. It wasn't Froome. It wasn't Thomas when he got big. Started focusing on the GC at the Tour and the Classics as well. It was Thomas in his early days. It was Peter Kenya. It was Owain Doull, John Dibben. It wasn't those big stars doing non-road focused races and goals and that's been the big problem, I think, when there's become Ineos. Tom Pidcock has been allowed to have big goals off-road. I mean, yes, he's achieved them, but it's come at a cost to his obvious potential on the road. And that led to the conflict of interest in him ultimately leaving. Same with Hayter. Filippo Ganna has decided to focus on the road now, which is great. I really hope he can rediscover that form that won him those 3 world titles and started to show signs of life at races like Roubaix as well. I really hope he does a full Classics campaign. On to my predictions. And my prediction is that their Classics team will be better than their GC team. Carlos Rodriguez and Thymen Arensman are probably going to lead the Grand Tours. but Arnsman can't do the first week still, and Rodriguez seems to, well, he doesn't have the acceleration to attack. He just seems to always, something happens. So hopefully he can find that consistency. But the classics team, I think, will come good. And Josh Tarling's going to top 10 at Roubaix. I don't think he can win it yet, but I think he can top 10. And their classics unit, this is more of a hot take. Their classics unit will rediscover the form of um, 2022, where you saw Ben Turner ride really well in Roubaix in support of Von Barle, where you saw Sheffield riding well. And as for Carlos Rodriguez, I think he'll finish sort of top four to top six at the Tour, and I think he'll finish fourth at the Vuelta, which similar to the Tour, was similar to where he was in 23. Obviously, I think he might begin to double up, hopefully. Just Ineos, they need to focus on the road, and they need confidence, they need wins, which is why I'm shocked they didn't go for a sprinter. Uh, Intermarché is, speaking of sprinters, Intermarché is the next team on my preview.